Okay, so this video is to reiterate how to do point-slope form when solving equations. So when you have an equation, so in number 2, I'm going to go through the point of 5, negative 2 with a slope of negative 3/5. When you have point-slope form, your equation is always going to be y minus something equals your slope times x minus something. And what happens is when you plug in the point of what it's going through, that number is the opposite of what you see. So y minus a negative 2 becomes a y plus 2, and x minus my 5 just becomes x minus 5. Okay, now my slope is just going to plug in here, so my slope is negative 3/5. Now, since it wants me to write it in slope-intercept form, in order to write in slope-intercept form from point-slope form, you got to remember just to solve for y. So your first step is that you are going to distribute your negative 3/5 through to both parts of this parenthesis. So y equals, try that one again, y plus equals negative 3/5 x, and then negative 3/5 times a negative 5 is a negative times a negative, a positive, so you have positive 15 divided by 5, which gives you a plus 3. Now in order to get y by itself, minus 2, minus 2, my answer is y equals negative 3/5 x plus 1. And that's the equation for number 2 in slope-intercept form. To do it again, what's the equation line through these 2 points? I'm going to first find my slope. To find my slope, y's subtracted, and then x's subtracted. So I get negative 10 divided by 5, which gives me negative 2. Once again, just to do this in point-slope form, I'm always going to have a y equals slope x here. Now you can pick either point that you want to use. Okay, so with the first point, y minus a negative 3 becomes a plus 3. X minus 2 is just minus 2, and my slope is negative 2. So that's one equation. Using the other points, okay, so my slope is negative 2, so that stays here. Y minus 7 is a minus 7. X minus a minus 3 is a plus 3. So that's the equations of the lines, the 2 equations that you can have. The top equation is plugging in the slope with the point 2, negative 3 into the equation of point-slope form. And the bottom one with the pink is plugging in the point of negative 3, 7 into the equation of point-slope form. If you can't remember what point-slope form is this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where x1 and y1 are the point that you want to go through, and m is your slope. So write equation of a line that passes through 3, negative 2 and is perpendicular to the slope of negative 5. So once again, the equation y equals x. Okay, so I'm going to go through the point of 3, negative 2. So y minus a negative 2 becomes a plus 2. And x minus 3 is a minus 3. And then my slope, if I'm going to be perpendicular, it's called the opposite reciprocal. So what I do in my mind is negative 5. I flip the sign to do the opposite reciprocal, so I get 5. And then I flip the fraction, or I write the reciprocal, which is 1/5. So my slope that would go into here is 1/5. Now to write this in slope-intercept form, I would distribute it through and then solve for y. So distributing through, and do that work in pink, is y plus 2 equals 1/5 x minus 3/5 minus 2 minus 2, And then my final equation, writing it over here, is going to be y equals 1/5 x. And in my calculator, taking negative 3/5 minus 2 is going to be a negative 13/5. Because 2 in fifths is 10. So negative 3/5 minus 2 is going to be a negative 13/5. And this would be my final answer in slope-intercept form. You don't have to write it in slope-intercept form. If it doesn't ask you to, you can leave it in point-slope form and be done. Where these two equations, you are done really quick. That's a refresher on how to do point-slope form and to write in slope-intercept form.